Hello, world. Welcome back to Golf Subpar with Colt Knost and Drew Stoltz. Schlees, there was a lot of action in the world of golf this past week. We had the match. We had the QBE. By the way, a frog picked up the title.
Everything's coming up purple.
Well, I'm just worried you might have peaked a little early.
I'd rather peak early than never peak. That's always been my motto.
Well, Sahith Theegala and Tom Hoge, past guest on Golf Subpar, so that's another win for us as well. The frog, they got it done over the Seagull, Charlie Hoffman and Ryan Palmer.
Yeah, how about that? First rookie squad to ever come in there and get it done.
No, first in 11 years.
Excuse me, 11 years. What was that, since it became the QBE or something? First rookie team, basically, to get it done. Watching that final round, the caliber of putting that was going on all over that golf course, I felt like was unbelievable. People were making it. Ryan Palmer, with a new putter, rolled the shit out of it this week. He was unbelievable. Hoagie was making putts. The Hith seems to always make putts. He was making them too. I mean, I thought just for a final round in a tournament that's an unofficial event, it's not the biggest thing in the world. Like that was about as good as it's going to get. And then the last hole, it comes down to everyone had virtually, roughly the same length putt. Who's going to hoop it? And so Hith stepped up there and did it.
I know it's a team competition. It's an exhibition technically, but like making a putt with that much pressure on the line, I think is going to do a lot of great things for Sahith Theegala going forward. I mean, it's not if, it's when is he going to win.
I love watching him play.
He's so much
There's
fun.
no tech. It doesn't feel like we've had him on the radio and talked to him. Like there's not a lot of technique or technical thoughts that go on that golf swing. It's just like hit it. If he hits it straight, if he can hit it in play, because there was a time earlier this year when we were speaking to him, he was like, "I'm literally like last in driving accuracy." He's like, "If I can just drive it in the fairway, I will be in good shape." And he had two good chances this past year to pick one off. I'd be willing to bet a lot he's going to get one this year, and I think he's a guy going forward. Like he's going to be the next crop of like, all right, Ryder Cup, President's Cup, that kind of that kind of caliber. I'm very, very high on his game. He's like probably the most likable, like becoming one of the biggest fan favorites.
Nice little Christmas bonus for
and then Hoagie everything's coming. What a year for that kid. Mm-hmm. I mean, shout out Tommy Boy for a big year. Wins at Pebble earlier this year, gets another one right here, even though it's unofficial, and then you got frogs rolling.
Finally,
all purple.
Finally, TCU produces a decent golfer.
God, we're long overdue. Don't forget J.J. Henry.
Never heard of him.
You know what I mean? Ryder Cupper, by the way.
Oh,
remember that?
Yeah.
They wore the all brown everything.
Wederick.
They wore the Dwight Schrute unis over there.
But probably the biggest thing that happened in the game of golf this past week was another edition of the match. Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy against the dream team of Justin Thomas and Jordan Spieth under the lights outside of Tampa, Pelican Golf Club. Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas put on an absolute clinic.
Yeah, I think
7 birdies in 10 holes, best ball, and I mean under the lights. I don't know if you've ever done it or not, but putting is so hard. There's so many shadows, you can't really see the slopes the way you want to. Didn't bother Justin Thomas.
Like everything's hard under, like if you ever even just hit balls on like a lighted up range or something like that, or you maybe played a hole where they put them out there. It's so weird. The shadows go like every different direction. It's hard to take a backswing without seeing it over here or something like that. So going in, I was like, there's gonna be some weird shots more than likely. But that thing, it was fun. There was good bit. I mean, JT and Chuck probably, held it all down. Mostly.
I got a little line for that.
We got to see Tiger,
yeah.
Out there. What'd you think of, I mean, look, I'm not going to freak out over a 12-hole exhibition in a cart at night, but like my takeaway from Tiger was, yeah, he's rusty. You can tell he hadn't played a whole ton of golf, but like the speed's there. The golf swing looked good. And if he can figure out a way to get that leg walking around, I mean, he just has to play. Like, there's no, like, these guys, how many times can he win the Masters? Like, dude, no one can not play for a year and then show up at Augusta and win. Like, you just have to knock off. You got to play some competitive golf.
The walking concerns me. I mean, the limp did not look good. The swing looked fine. I will hate on the TV coverage for a second because I think. No, it's not the network. I think just everyone in general. They juice up these TrackMan numbers. Right before they were getting ready to go, Tiger hits a driver and it said 182 ball speed. I'm like,
was the
guys,
first one, and I was like,
stop it.
This can't be. I'm like, Justin Thomas is out there, typically when we see him, he's like mid 170. If he gasses one, that's Rory. That's Rory numbers, who's the best driver on the planet. He and Rahm, I would say, and one of the longest. And I'm like, Tiger just came off all this stuff, and now he's at 182.
On the driving range.
Am I to believe that? Yeah, on the driving range, not even juiced up yet.
And then on the golf course, you saw, I mean, I think his fastest was 176 maybe. You heard Justin say they were playing together last week at home or the week before, and Tiger did get it over 180. But I'm like, on the range, like that, he did not look like he went at it hard, and it pops up 182, and I just started laughing. I was like, can we please stop juicing this so the people at home who actually go out on a TrackMan and their ball speed's 146, and he's like, wait a second, 36 miles an hour behind this guy. Are you serious?
The first one is the exact same one I saw too. I was like, really?
Yeah.
182 on the range right now. Not even going, just kind of getting the rhythm. I was like, this feels like.
But it was great to see Tiger back.
Numbers.
It's going to be a lot of fun this week. The PNC going at it with his son Charlie. By the way, who's grown so much in the past year, and he looks like he lives in the gym with Tiger.
I don't know where they're going to tee Charlie off from, if they have special Charlie tees or not, but Tiger ain't going to need to pull out that driver at all this week if Charlie hits a golf swing. Don't want to freak out over 12-year-old kid's golf swing or whatever, but goddamn, it looks just like Rory's.
He is going to be he's going to steal the show, but it's a great field. I mean, you've got Jordan and Sean Spieth playing. Jordan's playing with his dad. Justin and Mike Thomas, the Dailies, the Woods. I mean, it's going to be so much fun to watch. I can't remember which Korda is playing with her dad, but Nelly Korda stole the show at the QBE. She was phenomenal. You had Kevin Kisner calling her the Tiger Woods of the LPGA Tour.
She looked like she was hooping it from everywhere. 18 was that hybrid she hit in there. Damn near went in. Yeah, it hurt that golf swing. Nice. I'm gonna start swinging like that.
You should.
Yeah, I always change who. It was Xander for a while. It's not working for me. I'm going Korda now.
The best thing you can do is have a nice bottle of Dewar's, then go to the range, and you'll be back.
Of course. And then I just be me.
Well, you reserve your tee time ahead of time. You plan out every hole like a mission. In golf, you're always a step ahead. But holidays, birthdays, and other occasions always seem to sneak up on you. Then you're in a rush to buy a gift. Get ahead of the game with Dewar's Scotch Whiskey. Order customized labels or personalized bottles of Dewar's 12, 15, or 18 year now for the people on your list. Visit Dewar's.com and get your shopping done. Get it off your plate, then spend more time playing golf. While you're on Dewar's.com, explore the entire Dewar's portfolio for a whiskey to enjoy after a round, over the holidays, or relaxing at home. And please enjoy Dewar's responsibly. I know this is going to be a very popular Christmas item at the Sleaze household.
As it should be. Oh, trust me. Papa's going to be drinking good for a while. I'm not sure. I was listening to the beginning of that. I'm not sure I plan out every hole like a mission. You know?
You don't plan out much.
There's not a lot of, I don't want to call it a mission on every hole. It just kind of, whatever happens. We'll figure it out. All
right, well, it's time for the Dewar's Cheers moment of the week. And I'm going to give a big cheers to Justin Thomas and Charles Barkley. You kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier. They have to be on these matches.
Yeah.
Justin Thomas is one of the few guys. I'll throw Kevin Kisner in there, Max Homa as well, who I think should be involved at some point. Justin Thomas isn't afraid, to throw some shots out there at people. He's not scared to ruin his brand or anything like that. And then you got Charles Barkley. Them going at it was my favorite part of the match. I would love to be on that broadcast just to help stir the pot a little bit. Tiger's there. He doesn't say a whole lot.
He doesn't have to. No one expects him to either, by the way. That's not his role.
But early on, right before they teed off, they were congratulating Justin Thomas on getting married. And he's like, how was it, all this? He's like, dude, it was so much fun. It was seriously the best night of my life. I wish I could do it again. And Charles goes, well, man, you're pretty young. You probably are going to get to do it again.
Don't worry, man. You might get another crack at it.
And JT's like, really, man? That's a low blow.
And there's one that Chuck could get away with.
Yes, of course.
Trevor says that. Probably not going to land as much. Could be some rumblings. Chuck says it. People laugh and forget about it. That's why Chuck's the best.
And then JT throwing, Chuck's looking at that moon like an Oreo right now.
I don't know why I like you.
Those two always got to be on these things to make it entertaining.
JT has become the new, now that Phil's not, Phil would carry it. Right? And sometimes maybe you could say it was too much, but he'd talk you all the way through a chip shot, something like that. Then he'd toss it back to Charles or somebody else in the tower and keep the band, at least keep the conversation going. That's JT now. I don't think you'll see another one as long as he wants to keep playing them where he's not involved because there's not that many dudes that can do that.
No, honestly. I mean, you saw the camera picked up. JT had a Coors Light in the cup holder, having a couple pops during it. It's supposed to be fun. It's for a great cause. And then afterwards, him and Jordan post the video. What happened? Yeah. You lost to us? Everybody does.
Yeah.
I love it. Those two, I mean, that's a team.
They should be friends, those two.
They should.
They should get to know each other.
But in their whole team career, they've lost 2 matches. They're a team, you hated to play against them on Tuesdays in practice round. They just feed off each other so well. Mostly, I think, because they want to beat each other. They want to be the star of the show on the team, and they just...
It took some turns.
They destroy people.
Some turns, and their banter, they played so many. They all know that it just plays like a routine.
Hate to see it.
Yeah, exactly. All the little sayings and stuff. All right, I just audibled out of my cheers moment of the week. Thought about a new one. We were just down in Cabo, lucky enough to go down there and play the Pros and Joes, which is it's about as full of a sin of a golf tournament as there is.
Golf tournament.
One of the cool things they do that I've never done or seen before at a golf tournament is the night before home run derby. You sign up if you want to. You're not forced to. They put it in a pitching machine. I don't know how far it goes, but you got a bunch of golfers out there trying to hit bombs over a real fence. I showed up. I was like, no one's hit it over this thing, but you do. And got to see some terrible baseball swings from some very good golfers, which was fun. My favorite being my son, Wyndham Clark, who was talking a lot of shit before. I was like, I've signed up. I'm signing you up too. You're going to go. We're going to go. I hit one. Bomb, by the way. It would have been in the Cove in San Francisco. Squared one up. Got it way over the yard. Wyndham gets up talking a lot of shit about what he's going to hit. I don't think he got one out of the infield. Most of them were foul balls back into the backstop. And I videoed damn near every swing. And I have it for forever. And it was awesome. There's also some tour players that were pretty damn good. Will Gordon hit some yaks. Hit some yaks. Who else was decent?
First off, talk about being on video. If anybody out there has it, I need your antics while you're at the plate. I mean, you're bat twirling before you even the pitch even comes.
I didn't realize I was doing that. Someone showed me.
You did not know you were doing that.
I take after Gary Sheffield. A lot of movement up there. I think that's why I wasn't.
There was more speed in that than there was going through the.
I was ready to hit, dude.
God,
ready to fight. That thing's fun though.
Yeah,
it takes a little bit of balls up, get up there and embarrass yourself. But that's what you do.
Yeah, but man,
my son sucks.
Shout out to everyone at El Dorado. What a special place. That was a lot of fun. And no surprise, the rock forms were blaring down there at El Dorado.
Everywhere, dude. People get it down there. What more can we say about this thing? We talk about it every week. But coming up, holiday season, if you got a friend that's a golfer or just anybody that enjoys music, get your rock form. We've talked about the magnets. They grip to the cart. They never let go. The battery life is the thing we tout the most. It is incredible. I pulled one out once I got back, Colt, that I had used from before. And I was like, damn, it's been a few weeks maybe since I used this thing. It worked. Still had it. Still had juice. Used it out there. Waterproof, drop proof, all the stuff. I mean, we love the things, and they're everywhere now.
As they should be.
Yeah.
Like I said, waterproof. The magnet, it's not going to bounce anywhere off your cart. You can get two of them. You can pair it together. Listen, let's just face it. The game of golf is changing. El Dorado gets it. T-shirt, shorts, music, because we are not going to be quiet anymore.
I'll tell you what I saw. Speaking on the how durable it is, I saw someone who had a certain brand of speaker resting on the little crack in the top of their cart. Right, they drive around or whatever. Well, they got to the range and they were taking off, went over a bump as you do, like the little curb. It goes out. Thing fell. Couldn't tell. I was a little bit of ways away. It looked like it broke to shit right there.
Tough
and I
break.
said, you know what? You get yourself a rock form. That doesn't happen.
Would not happen with a rock form. That thing would it'd bounce. You'd pick it up.
Pick it up.
Keep going. Higher love.
Turn Whitney on.
Yeah, let's
crank it up. Let's go.
All right. Well, make sure you go to rockform.com. That's ROKFORM.com. And we got a fresh code for you. SUBROK25. That's SUBROK25 for 25% off your entire order. Perfect for the holidays.
Scoop and
all right.
score.
Our guest. And we'll get to it later on, but this is our last guest of 2022. An absolute legend. One of the best to ever do it. Loves his golf. Ozzie Smith, the Wizard, joins us.
We use the term legend a lot these days. A lot of people do. This is a real one. This dude, I played baseball till I was like 10, as you could tell in the home run derby. And this was my guy. Saw him play one time, want to see the backflip, all that stuff, and then getting a chance to meet him and talk to him. They're not a nicer guy. Zero ego from a guy that's one of the best.
Well, judge for yourself. Here's Ozzie Smith on Golf Subpar.
Okay, folks, we have a special dude with us here today. He's done it all. He's a World Series champ, 15-time All-Star, 13-time Gold Glove winner, one of the best shortstops in the history of baseball. Also one of the best nicknames, the Wizard. Ozzie Smith is with us from outside, I see. How we doing, Oz?
I'm doing great, man. Just finished working out and stuff, and actually it feels pretty nice. Now, they told me it's pretty chilly there in Scottsdale as well.
I went to bed in Scottsdale and woke up in Scotland. It's 40 and raining. It looks nicer in St. Louis right now.
Well, we don't have any rain, but it's a little overcast. But my cutoff is 50, so if I can squeeze like 8 more degrees out here, I might go out and try and hit something today.
Wow. Oh, wow. So Colt and I were going to go for our typical morning workout this morning, but too cold, dude. We couldn't do it. Roads are all wet, Safety first.
It's dangerous out here.
Yeah.
But Sleaze mentioned your nickname, the Wizard. First off, I mean, obviously it goes very well with how your name is, but who's the first person that ever called you that?
You know what? It's hard to it's hard to put my finger on exactly when that started, but because baseball, we shorten everybody's name. It's Oz. My real name is Osborne, and so my friends started calling me Oz, and of course with the Wizard of Oz and all of that, and I guess with the way that I played. Now basketball was really what I excelled at in high school. And so I guess with some of the stuff that I did, I would guess that's where it started, and it just carried on the rest of my life.
So you're better at basketball than baseball early on.
I wouldn't say better. It certainly has worked out better. Baseball has certainly worked out better than basketball would have. But it was the thing that I enjoyed in high school. And Eddie Murray and I played together in high school. And we probably played more basketball than we did baseball.
I saw that, we'll launch right into the baseball stuff. You went to Cal Poly to play baseball. I read that it was as a walk-on. You had an academic scholarship there, walked on to the baseball team. Was recruiting services just terrible back then that nobody saw you and like, this kid's special?
That's right. When they came to scout our high school team, Eddie Murray was the guy that did everything. I mean, he pitched, he caught, he could hit for power, he could hit for average, So here was this 145, 150-pound shortstop that they never really took a look at. And, size has always played a big part in today's world. I'm not sure that a prototypical shortstop like myself would even get drafted, because they're looking for those guys who can hit the ball out of the ballpark and stuff. And from that standpoint, I don't think things have really changed. They're always looking for that big guy who has some athletic ability, and they're willing to forego some defense for the offense that guys are able to generate.
Yeah, and you mentioned, might not get drafted in today's world, but you got drafted first off by the Detroit Tigers, which is a rather interesting story. Can you tell us about your negotiating tactics with the Detroit Tigers?
Yeah, I played semi-pro baseball in a little small town called Clarinda, Iowa. What would happen is after our college season, they would send us out to places to play to hopefully help you develop as a player and hopefully as a person as well. And I went to a little small town called Clarinda, Iowa. I spent a couple years there, and in 1976, I get drafted by the Detroit Tigers. The same year, Alan Trammell, Lou Whitaker, and I think it was Jack Morris were drafted. And I finished 3 years of my schooling. I promised my mom that I would get my education, and they offered me $8,500. And I said, well, if they don't pay me at least 10 grand, they're not going to take a real good look at me. So in my infinite wisdom, I went back and I said, if you give me another 1,500, I'll take the gamble. And they said they didn't have it in the budget. So I went back to school in hopes of getting drafted my senior year, which I did by the San Diego Padres. And being a good businessman that I am, guys, I signed for $5,000 and a bus ticket to Walla, Washington, where I started my professional career.
That sounds like our negotiations with our podcast contract here.
I need 10 or nothing. All right, no deal. All right, I'll take 5. Forget it, I'll take 5. I'll take less than the initial offer.
But that was it. And stuff, and I tell kids all the time that when you see guys that have made it to the professional ranks, the road there is different for everybody. And everybody that has made it weren't bonus babies. And I certainly was not that. And I'm not the only one that happened to. There are a lot of guys that, end up gambling on themselves, pretty much like Aaron Judge did this year. You believe in yourself and your ability to do what it is you do. And you go out there and you perform under the pressure. And that's basically what I had to do. I had to prove myself, and it was nothing new for me because being a small guy, you really have to prove yourself over and over again. And so I did.
Have you talked to anyone, I'm sure, throughout the years from the Tigers organization? That's got to be one of their biggest regrets. We just could have ponied up 1,500 more and we'd had Ozzie.
Well, you know what? I think that they did pretty well with Alan and Lou. They ended up being one of the longest combinations in baseball history, so I think it worked out well for them. It would have been fun to see exactly how that would have played out, but I think it worked out well for everybody, and I don't think that they were that they had any regrets with the drafts that they made.
Yeah, it did work out well for everybody. You mentioned Aaron Judge, who just signed for 9 years, $360 million. Bet on himself a little bit. What are your thoughts when you hear about these contracts nowadays compared to, what you made back when you were playing?
Well, of course, you say, wish you were playing today, because it is flowing so freely and so easy now. And I think that, when you look around at some of the guys that I had the opportunity to play with, you can't help but say, what was somebody like that? What would it be his worth today? And that's not to take anything away from the guys today, but, I played with some pretty good players and against some pretty good players as well, so I guess everything is relative. In our day and in time, I guess we got paid the top dollar, and I'm not sure that we've reached the ceiling yet. When you look at some of these contracts back in the 1978, 79, I think when we had the strike, I thought we had reached the ceiling, but I'm not sure that we have reached the ceiling because they just keep getting bigger and bigger.
What was your biggest contract you signed? You had?
It was the last couple years of my career were I think I was right at $3 million.
Wow,
and I fight for that.
That's incredible. Now Aaron Judge makes 40.
That's like every 2 games. Like, there you go. Here's your 3. You got it. What, Ozzie? What do you think about just the state of baseball right now, like the game itself? We talked to NFL players about when they played versus now. NBA players, same thing. Everyone tends to think the game gets softer and is a little bit worse, I think, from their era. Do you feel like that in baseball too?
Well, back in my day, you were fair game around second base. It was a guy's job to come in there and break up the double play, which I understood as long as a guy was doing it cleanly. Had no problem with it. And now you can't touch the guy at second base. You got to give the guy a lane at home plate. So from that standpoint, yes, it has softened. Of course, none of us want to see anybody get hurt, but it's part of what we do. It's part of the risk that we run when we get out there. And if the game is on the line, say you're playing in the 7th game of the World Series and a guy's trying to turn to double play, and I shouldn't make it easy for him to turn to double play. And that's basically what we've done. You can't be touched at second base, and you got to be able to touch the bag. And now we're talking about making the bag bigger too. So, yeah, things have changed, and it's those little things like that I think that have really having an impact on the game. I know we're probably going to get to talking about shifts and all of that stuff as well. I think that, personally, when you talk about shifts, back in the day, we didn't really shift. We just kind of, we played slight pull or whatever, because I think that in the long run, you end up taking yourself out of a play more than you put yourself in a play. And as a player, I would take it personally, or the guys that I played with, the generation, would take it personally if they said, I'm going to put everybody on this side of the field because we don't believe you can hit the ball the other way. That's where pride and all of that stuff comes into play. I'd spend a lot of time getting to the ballpark early, working on hitting the ball the other way if, in fact, they were going to play me a certain way.
Before we get back to the great Ozzie Smith, once again, you got to go to the Golf.com Pro Shop, pick you up some Birdie Juice merch. It's Christmas. It's the holiday season. Everyone loves them some good Birdie Juice merch. You got the hats, the tumblers, the hoodies, everything. And right now, everything is 20% off. No code needed. At checkout, automatic 20% off. Golf.com Pro Shop. Go get it now. Back to Ozzie Smith. I mean, you look at the game now, and it's all about analytics, especially when you get to the playoffs in the World Series. Like, it's crazy. Like, a pitcher can be absolutely killing it for 5 innings, have a shutout, nothing. All of a sudden, the analytics guy says, oh, we need to take him out. Was that ever even a thought back in your day?
No. Back in the day, and even before, back in Bob Gibson and those guys' days, even when they had a great year, there was no guarantee that they were going to get a raise. So when a guy told the slab, he was there to go the distance. And there were some games when I was growing up in LA, there were some games where two pitchers, a real pitcher's duel was, could go 14, 15 innings. It was 0-0 in the 14th, the 15th inning. I can remember Vin Scully calling a game one time where it was 12-12. 0-0 in the 12th inning. So today, a guy's throwing a no-hitter through 6 and they pull him out. And, it's
crazy.
What would the pitcher have done in your era if he had a no-no going and go into the 7th? They're like, hey, you hit your 83 pitches as your max count today. We're going to yank you. The guy would have gone crazy, wouldn't he?
Yeah. He would have gone nuts. I'm not coming out. No, I got a chance. I got a chance to make history. And I'm not so sure that making history is that important anymore.
That's a good point. But Ozzie, you were one of, if not the best defensive shortstop the game has ever seen. Is there a guy in today's Major League Baseball that kind of reminds you of you?
We talked about this earlier. Prototypical, they don't have a lot of prototypical. The guy that was Omar Vizquel in the American League. He was my counterpart. And, you had plenty of guys. Larry Bull was one of those guys. Back in the day, it was all about guys who could cover ground. they didn't have to be guys that hit the ball out of the ballpark. But I think that, Cal, um, Alex Rodriguez, and those guys start proving that they could play the position very consistently and put up big numbers. And I think that was the impetus for giving bigger guys the opportunity to play the position.
I think you have a gift, I think it's fair to say, along with a lot of the other great athletes in their sport, that just you're born with something special that a lot of other people don't have. But I was reading about how you worked on your reflexes as a kid, like throwing a ball against, I think it was the steps or something like that. Can you talk about what you did as a kid that gave you kind of your quick twitch?
Well, here again, I think that when I was growing up, we spent a lot of time outside, and a lot of time by yourself. I had four brothers, but none of them were really into sports and stuff. So I had to be creative. I had a peak roof, and show you how dumb I was as a kid. I used to throw the ball up on one side and try and run around to the other side, hoping that it hits the gutter and allow me to catch it before it hit the ground. And it was things like that as I got older that I realized that it was crazy and it was stupid, and I was never able to get there in time. But it was because of things like that, that type of determination, that made me the player that I ultimately became. I used to throw the ball against the steps and just, continuing to work on my hand and eye coordination, which I was born with. I used to lay on the floor and throw the ball up and close my eyes to get the feel of the ball hitting the glove without seeing it, not knowing that was enhancing a skill that I already had. And so many times when there was a play, it becomes very reactionary. And that you're probably going to be a better player operating in your subconscious mind than conscious. And so a lot of the things that I did were just, they were automatic. It just happened because of the little things that I did as a kid growing up that helped enhance something that I was born with.
I threw the ball over my house one time, and then about 4 hours later, my mom told me to go pick it up.
Hey, there's still the balls over there. You lost your ball.
I saw it later. I was like, I'm not going to get that.
I took a nap. I forgot about that ball. What about, other than being probably the best defensive shortstop ever to play, the other thing you're very well known for is the backflip. Also reading about how you came up with that as a kid. Can you talk about that, and also the first time you decided to debut that thing?
Well, here again, spending a lot of time outside. We didn't have phones and all of that stuff. So we had to be creative in the way that we went about the things that we did, and we love sports. And I lived across the street from where they used to build pallets, and so there was always plenty of sawdust. So we, as kids, used to go over and we'd get these old tires and patch the inner tube up. And my brothers or friends would sit on the side, and we use that as kind of a springboard, and we'd flip into the sawdust. And then on Thursdays, we'd go to Family Fun Center where they had trampolines in the ground. And so we just kind of taught ourselves how to tumble. And then when I signed in with the Padres and my first big league camp, 1978, we had to run a couple miles after we finished working out, which I wasn't very fond of. I was at the back of the pack, and the guys gave me a hard time about being a young guy at the back of the pack. So to show them I wasn't tired, I did my round off backflips, and I had pretty good hops at the time. And Gene Tennis, who was a teammate, had girls that were involved in gymnastics, and he wanted me to show them that I could do that at some point in time during the season, which I wasn't able to do. So the final day of the season, which was Fan Appreciation Day, he and the PR guy thought it would be a good idea for me to do it going out to my position. Well, I was reluctant to do it because in San Diego, the entertainment was the chicken, and I didn't want it to appear that I was trying to show up the chicken. I reluctantly did it. People liked it so much they asked me to do it opening day the following year, and lo and behold, a trademark was born.
You got to respect the chicken.
Yeah,
I get it.
The chicken was special, He was the entertainment, and that was one of the highlights for me. Having the chance to start my career there in San Diego, because, I got to see the rebirth of the chicken as well, because I think he started out as a radio personality, and then Ted Giannoulis went out on his own and created this character that I think started all of the different characters all throughout sports. He was that entertaining.
I was interested to hear the first time you did it, because I figured you just went out there and did it on your own, and some manager almost had a heart attack, I'm sure, when you went flying through the air.
No, people always ask me, was I ever afraid of not making it? And As a kid, I mean, I built up so much confidence that if I didn't feel that I could do it, I would have never done it. But I had pretty good leaps. It got lower and lower as the years went on. I at night in 1996, I think my last one. You saw me have to put my hands down. The spring was gone.
I was going to ask when the last one you ever did was.
Well, the very last one was done in 2002, and I did it up at the Hall of Fame. And on my first pass, I pulled a calf muscle. It was ugly. It was ugly. It was bad.
Still doing it though at 2002. I mean, you got to be one of the oldest dudes I think to probably ever attempt to do a backflip. I remember going and watching you as a kid, by the way, and that was like my biggest thing was like when I got to see the backflip, got to see the back. That was the whole thing,
That's the only time Sleaze has ever been on time, was there to get there in the first.
Yeah, I was like, we can't miss a winning pitch. I got to see Oz do the flip.
Yeah.
Well, I know you're passionate about your golf. We got to talk a little bit about your golf. We got to meet down here at the Holiday Classic in Scottsdale. Met several years ago. But tell us, how did you first get into golf? What age were you, and how did it all happen?
As a kid, I never picked up a golf club. Golf was never an interest. I grew up in South Central Los Angeles, and it was baseball, basketball, or football, and so golf was never that thing for any of us, me or Eddie. And it was 19. I'm going to say it was 19. It was the late 80s. Whitey Herzog had a tournament, and I have a friend here that got me involved. He said, we're going to have a tournament in a couple days, and we'd like you to hit the ball off the tee, the first tee. And I said, you know what? I've never played golf. He said, well, come out and we'll hit some balls, and if you're not comfortable, we won't do it. So I went out and a couple days early, and I hit some balls, and he gave me the basics and the fundamentals. As an athlete, I love the process, and that process continues today. Knowing that I will never perfect it, but getting it to a point of consistency where I know what it is that I'm trying to achieve. And this guy was an old pro by the name of Mike Murphy, and he was running Whitey Herzog's golf tournament, and we went out, we hit some balls, and I got comfortable enough to where I felt that I wasn't going to kill somebody off of the first tee. So I went out in a couple of days and I hit it, and it went down the middle, and that was it. When you hit it good and stuff. And I've been hooked ever since, and I've been a part of the process of trying to get better at working, teaching myself how to get more square than open or close. And one of the toughest things is because the ball is sitting still. As a baseball player, all your timing and everything is off of the pitcher when he gets to this point. But in golf, you have to generate all of that yourself. And I think that's been part of the challenge. And for anybody who's played any sport for 15, 20 years, there's a competitive void in your life after you're done. And so golf fills that competitive void because I'm competing, first of all, against myself, I'm competing against the course and the people that you play against. And I, as I said, I love the process of trying to figure it out. When I got other things on my mind, it's golf that I can go downstairs and hit on the simulator. It's real relaxing.
No one ever perfects golf, like you said. But where are you right now, handicap wise, for everybody listening?
I'm right at a 4, and I'm at that stage of where, chipping a little bit better and putting a little bit better is the thing that's going to make it more fun for me. People ask me, well, you want to try and get on the tour? No, I don't need that stress. I just want to be able to go out and have fun and enjoy it with my friends and play like the Holiday Classic that we play in. There's some wonderful events that I have a chance to play in, and I played up in Tahoe for 11 years. And it's just fun. It's just being able to get myself to a position where I don't embarrass myself when I'm out there playing.
Good goal.
Yeah, you mentioned Tahoe, though. I mean, here you are. You play in front of packed stadiums, playing baseball all the time. What are the nerves like for Ozzie Smith when he steps on the first tee at Tahoe with a lot of people out there watching?
Well, Colt, that people expect you because you're a professional athlete. They expect you to be able to do it and do it well. And golf's not easy. It's not easy to go out there and hit the ball exactly where you want to, especially when you have to create everything yourself after coming from a sport where the pitcher generates all of the momentum and stuff for you. So yeah, it was scary, but that's part of the challenge too, to get to that point to where there's some comfortability at going out there and being able to perform on that stage. And that'll be the challenge until I can't play anymore.
Yeah, it's funny seeing some of those celebs out there that have been in the either packed stadiums or packed arenas, sing and perform, whatever they do. They get up on that first tee, and you all of a sudden they look vulnerable for the first time, and it's funny to watch.
You know what's tough for a lot of us, for me anyway, is the quiet. It gets too quiet. We're used to the noise and stuff, and I tell people, it always amazed me. The guy goes, "Man, you were talking in my backswing." You got 50,000 people yelling at you when you're playing, and now somebody talking in your backswing is the reason you hit the ball bad. Noise doesn't bother me. As a matter of fact, if I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, then that doesn't distract me at all.
I like that. Give us some of your favorite courses you've played and maybe some that you haven't yet.
Well, one of my favorite courses is playing down. I got a chance to play Augusta National 3 times. I have a buddy of mine from Augusta that was fortunate enough. I was able to do some things for the Boys and Girls Club down there and gotten a chance to play there. I love Sage Valley. That's one of my favorite walking courses. I love Shadow Creek.
Yes.
It's a beauty. Playing at Pebble, Pebble's beautiful, but I like the other courses. Some of the other courses around there are a little bit
interesting
views at Pebble, but some of the other courses around there are fun to play. And where else have I played? Having to play in Colorado, played in Boulder, and ball flies there. It makes you feel like Superman there. And then of course Arizona, Whisper Rock is one of my favorites. And
is there a place you haven't played yet that you really want to? Because I bet we could probably make it happen.
I've never played Cypress Point. Can you believe that? Never played. And
it's special.
I hear so many people talk about that, but I have had a chance to play a place called Taraiti, which is in New Zealand. I had a chance to do it years ago, and that was a lot of fun. And it's playing in Scotland, of course. I played the old course and I played the new course. So I've been very fortunate since I retired to have had the opportunity to play some pretty nice courses, and looking forward to playing them again.
Yeah, you got a hell of a lineup there, and you playing some of the Pro-Am stuff too. I know you play the BMW Charity Pro-Am on the Korn Ferry Tour. Are there any pros you've gotten to know or gotten to play with and kind of developed a relationship with over the years?
Oh yeah, I've gotten to play with, Jim Furyk is a super guy. I used to go to his tournament all the time, and just a wonderful person. I've had a chance to play with Jim Thorpe. I've had a chance to play with Jack Nicklaus. I've had a chance to play with Tom Watson. It's just, it's just been Annika Sorenstam. Who else have I played with? Those are the names that just kind of jump out at you that I've had a chance to spend some time around and watch. And there's always something to learn from players of their caliber, at learning if it's just tempo or speed or learning how to stay back and positioning where to put the ball. So that's where I pick up a lot of the stuff that I know. I watched you the other day, Colt. By the way, we play the same clubs, so I know I'm on the right track.
We do. Shout out Callaway for those great clubs.
Great set.
Ozzie, when you play with those guys like you mentioned, like Jack and Annika, do you find that the whole time you're playing, you want to ask them golf questions the entire time, and then they want to ask you baseball stuff the whole time?
Yeah, we do. We do talk. We talk the sport, and then we talk the other sport. Like when I was with Annika, she wanted to know a lot about baseball and all of the little intricacies of it. And of course, me watching her swing, that to me is a different swing. It's so easy and so smooth. And the ball seems to go so much further, with that easy swing, because as guys, it's hard not to get muscle in there sometimes, especially when you have to, you got a long distance or a distance that you're not comfortable with. You have a tendency to tighten up and swing harder when it should be just the opposite. You should be relaxing a little bit more and letting it fly off the club.
No doubt about it. Are you a guy that enjoys watching golf on TV when you're not playing?
Yeah, I do, because there's so many different styles. In baseball, some guys start here, some guys are down here, and it's fun watching guys. The different styles that they have out there now. The kinks, and I'm always looking for the thing that gets a guy going. How he develops his tempo and his rhythm, and it's a lot of weird things out there, and people have different swings, but that's the way it is, because we're not all built the same way. And I've heard, I think it was Lee Trevino that said that, with some guys, it looks like they're all robots, and we're all trying to teach the guys all the same way. Well, it's hard when everybody has different bodies to be able to teach them the same way. And that's why the process for me is always so much fun, because I may come out today, and if I slept wrong last night, the swing that I had yesterday, it may be different today, so you've got to be able to figure those things out. And I think that's what makes the game so fascinating. It's guys who have the ability, if things aren't going well, and I guess improvisation is probably the best word for it, being able to improvise today with what you have to work with. And if you can win with that, then that's somebody that has that special talent.
Yeah, it's a beautiful game, crazy game. Drives us all
Also,
nuts.
yeah, it drives you freaking insane. Ozzie, you could bat from both sides of the plate when you were playing. When you first picked up golf, could you hit it from both sides, or can you still hit it from both sides?
You can, but there's not the same comfortability on my left side as it is on my right. I'm a natural right-hander, so it's a little tougher left-handed, getting to that point to where there's some consistency now. I think that if you're a switch hitter, you do it for those special situations where you got a tree or something in your line and stuff. But to be able to do it consistently, I could not.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I look absolutely ridiculous trying to hit a ball left-handed.
Some dudes that are good though.
Yeah, there are
some guys that could just go. Let me ask you this one question, because you said you picked up golf after kind of you got done playing baseball. When you were playing, and like nowadays, these pitchers, when they go on road trips, they're bringing their clubs and they're out there playing because they only work once every 5 days, whatever. Were they doing that when you were playing?
No, there were very few guys that did that. I think that's been part of the generational change. As we've gone along, they've been a little bit more lenient at letting guys, play golf on the road. But when we were playing, it was all about the business of baseball, and working hard to make sure that you were ready to be and prepared every day. And that sometimes could be a distraction if you were involved in another sport.
These pitchers, they got it so
300 million, and you can bring your sticks. Does that work for you? Yeah.
And then only throw 5 innings,
Yeah, and we're gonna stop you at 80 pitches. Yeah, do you think that's a deal you could be okay with?
That's a pretty nice gig.
Yeah. No kidding.
All right, Ozzie. Well, we do this with everyone. We do an emergency 9 segment, just 9 fun questions to get to know you a little better. And we ask this to everyone. You can trade lives with anyone. Be them for a day. They can be dead or alive. Just get to experience their life for a day. Who would it be?
They are dead or alive. It can be anybody.
Anybody.
I don't know. The greatest, Muhammad Ali, probably. I think that he was a person that kind of changed. He changed the way we look at the world. At one time he was one of the most hated people in the world, but he became the greatest. And I think that would have been fun.
I like that answer.
That's a very good one.
That's a first.
That might be the first. And another person with a tremendous nickname.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One that could rival the Wizard. You know what I mean? Go from the Wizard to the greatest. That's a good lineup. All right, I'll give you this one, Oz, because I rattled off your resume at the beginning. You've done virtually everything you can do in baseball. What would you say is your greatest golf accomplishment to this point?
Well, was 3-4 weeks? No, it would have been longer than that. Anytime you can shoot in the 60s, 60s, and that's been my goal. To have at least 1 or 2 rounds in the 60s during the course of a golf season, and I was able to do that 2 times this year. So that was pretty special.
Nice.
I like that. One of mine was what's the higher number, your jersey number or the amount of holes in one you have?
Well, I don't have a. My number was 1. I don't have a 1.
So, no! I thought that was going to be a
tie.
A1. Isn't that something?
All right, we got to get above that jersey number at some point.
You got to play the Holiday Classic more. They need 5 Holiday Classics a year.
That's great.
All right, I'll give you this one. What got you more hyped up as a player, you personally? Making an incredible play in the field or hitting a bomb?
Because I was notably a defensive player,
Yeah.
What I try and tell people is that momentum is not just offense. Momentum can be defense as well. And I prided myself on being able to create momentum from a defensive standpoint. I think that's one of the things that made me stand out. I use defense as a way of changing momentum.
And you did.
Yeah.
And it worked.
All right, my next one, this is something not very many people get to experience, but in 2002, when the Olympic torch was making its way to Salt Lake City for the Winter Games, you got to be a torchbearer.
Yeah.
Like, where does that rank in your life? How cool was that moment?
That was way up there too, and I had no idea, but I think it speaks to, where your place is in a city when you're one of the people that is asked to run the torch, So that was a real honor for me to have the opportunity to do that, and that ranks very high.
I get me nervous carrying that thing around too, right? You're talking about the first tee at Tahoe. Carrying that thing around got to be pretty high on the nerve meter, wouldn't it?
It was, and all of the excitement that is created, and people are yelling and screaming as you're going down the street, and that's one of the special moments in my life.
Yeah, one misstep and a little fall down, and that's going to live on the internet for forever. So you did a good job. You avoided all that. All right, here's one for you. Give me the one other celebrity golfer that you enjoy beating the most.
Celebrity golfer that I enjoy beating. Well,
you got a rival?
Well, I don't have a golf. Well, I have a football buddy that I play with all the time. I beat him so bad now. It's just terrible. I can remember the first time that we played. His name was Willard Harrell, and he played for the Green Bay Packers and the St. Louis Cardinals. And I can remember the first time that we ever played. We went to the same barbershop, and he had the barber ask me one day. He says, "Tell him I want to play golf with him." So we ended up playing golf, and he won $20 off me. And on the way home, he passed me. Well, he had me sign it, and on the way home, he put it on his forehead. And I told him, I said, one of us is going to get better. And now all I do is throw my clubs out there now, and I beat him on a consistent basis.
Signing the 20s is a solid move, though. That way I can be, this one's yours right here. This one you?
I like that.
Yeah.
All right. You and Kurt Warner walk into a restaurant in St. Louis. Who's getting a table first? Long line out the door. They notice you and Kurt Warner are there. Who's getting the first table?
It's good.
No, we're going to sit together.
That's not an option in this question.
The whole restaurant's open, actually.
No, Kurt was certainly a big part of the sports scene here, and with the greatest show on turf. That created an excitement that we will never forget. As a matter of fact, I was at an event the other day that Dick Vermeil was there, and that brought back some wonderful memories. Those guys are very, very special. And Kurt now, I think, lives in Los Angeles, but I guess I rule the roost right now in St. Louis and stuff. But he and his wife have done some wonderful things, continue to do some wonderful things here in St. Louis.
That's awesome.
I think they're both getting tables.
Yes, they're both getting tables.
Or else the place is closing up. If not. All right, I had my last one for you, Ozzie. I was going to ask you some backflip stuff, but we kind of already talked about that, so I'm going to audible here. I think the play that, it's considered one of the best defensive plays in the history of baseball was your play as a rookie, as a Padre, where you were diving, you laid out like fully airborne, and then went back and caught it barehanded, right, and made the play at first. It's unbelievable. Is that your favorite play that you've ever made? And if not, what is?
Yeah, I think that was a play that really kind of put me put me on the map. But keep in mind, on that particular play, that's not something you practice. It's one of those things that gets back to what we were talking about from an instinctual standpoint that I did as a kid from that becomes very reactionary. My glove hand was gone, so the only other thing that I could do was reach up with my bare hand, and I was lucky enough that the ball was stuck in my hand. I was able to scramble my feet and throw the guy out. One of the toughest plays for me has always been one to where you have your back to the infield. And I think a couple weeks later, I had a play in San Francisco where the ball was popped up, and I looked out, and the outfielder was going back, but the wind was blowing the ball back in, and I had to run. Seemed like for 3 days, and I ended up catching the ball over my shoulder, Willie Mays style, and stuff. And I thought that was a pretty good play. And then the other one was another one with my back to the infield where the infielder's coming in, and we always had conversations about if in fact we do get in no man's land, if a ball is hit in no man's land, that if I dive, I'm going to dive and my body's going to go right. And if you dive and your body goes right, the only thing we'll hit is arms if there is a collision. And Kurt Ford, who was able to slide underneath me, remembered that, and so his body went right from the left field side, and my body went right from the infield side, and we were able to avoid the contact, and I made that play, and those were probably the top 3 plays of my career.
Do you ever just go on YouTube and type in Ozzie Smith greatest plays? Because I did that yesterday, and it's fun. And it's not me making the plays. I think I do it every day.
It brings back a lot of memories. And I guess when you talk about double plays, and that was always fun because that was improvisational. There's one play in there, and I don't know if you saw this one, but Lenny Harris was running. And Lenny was one of the I think it was Lenny Harris. He was with the Dodgers at the time. And he was good at breaking up the double play. And so there's a bullet hit. He's running on the plate. There's a bullet hit, one hop to the second baseman, Luis Alisei. He flips the ball to me. Well, instead of just catching it like this, I just used the bag as a springboard. And so as he rolled and came up, thinking that he had me, he looked around and go, what? And where'd he go? So that's where my basketball skills came in at that particular time. I just kind of used that as a springboard and jumped over them and turned a double play.
So cool.
Yeah, all that stuff as a kid, jumping in the sawdust. There you go.
Love it. All right, last one, Ozzie. 2 of my favorite sports movies of all time are Major League and Bull Durham. And during those movies, you get to see how superstitious baseball players are, whether it's Jobu or women's lingerie that the pitcher might be wearing. Did Ozzie Smith have any crazy superstitions?
No, I think we all know about Wade Boggs and chicken and everything. My go-to meal was hamburger helper. When things weren't going well, if I could get me a bowl of hamburger helper, that would usually get me on track and stuff. But as a baseball player, anything that we did the day before, if you go out and you have a good day, you try and remember all of the things that you did the day before, and you try and repeat that until that wears out and something else comes up.
Let me give you one bonus question since he just asked that. Best baseball movie ever made?
Field of Dreams.
Okay. Good. I like it.
There's a lot of good baseball.
Yes,
they probably do the best job of all the sports making
doubt.
good movies. Other ones, there's a few here and there, but baseball got a lot of them.
Yeah, it's that movie there touched everybody because a dad and a son playing catch is where it all starts, in the backyard, and that's a very important part of what we do, and sharing those special moments with the kids.
No doubt. Well, Ozzie, this has been an absolute pleasure, my man. We really, really enjoyed having you on.
All right. Thank you guys for having me.
All right. Well, that was the great Ozzie Smith joining us on Golf Subpar. I mean, first of all, you mentioned 15-time All-Star, 13 straight Gold Gloves, World Series champion, and obviously one of the toughest sons of bitches around, sitting outside in St. Louis when it's like 38 degrees to do this interview.
Post-workout.
Yeah.
Still going. Of all the shit that happened, we got into it at the very beginning there. It's like when he came back, first got drafted, it's like, I want $10,000. They were offering, Tigers were offering $8,500. All right, we're talking $1,500.
A lot of money back in the day.
Of course, but $1,500 to get what turned out to be arguably the best defensive shortstop in the history of baseball. Bad move there. And then he comes back the next year for a little 5-piece. But if I'm a Tiger, owner operator, at that time. Like, yeah, maybe it was worth the extra 1,500.
For sure.
Possibly.
But it's cool. I would love to, we've had George Brett on here talking about what he thinks he would make in today's game. I mean, Ozzie would make a gazillion. He said he made $3 million his last couple of years. I mean, he'd be a $30 million kind of guy. I know his offense wasn't quite as great, but his defense made up for it. But he was so much fun. I was very curious about what number is higher, his jersey number or the amount of holes in one he had. And oh my God, the man's shut out right now. We got to get him over that jersey
Goose.
number.
That's one of those things you can't buy. No matter what you've done, you need one. I was surprised actually when he said that because we've
4 handicap.
played tournaments with him, seen him around. I figured you get one. Whether or not you can even hit it or not. I figured that'll be coming. And he plays tons of golf, so I got to think that's coming. But yeah, pitching the shutout right
Tough
now.
break.
Yeah, I also like hearing him talk about like old days, like take a picture out throwing a no-no in the 6th or 7th.
Ain't happening.
No, but guess what? I'm going back in now with all the analytics and shit. I mean, it's just like all the other athletes, as they get out of their sport, like, yeah, it's softer now. And it's true, I think, pretty much across the board.
All right, well, let's get to some gambling here. We went 1-1 in our football picks. Philadelphia Eagles are freaking good. They absolutely smashed Mark's New York Giants.
Tough look, Marky.
Yeah, sorry about it, guys. Your Broncos
lost.
You bet the under, and they
scored
decided
for
to score
the first time. It was 27-0. I was like, well, KC's going to hit the over by themselves. And then all of a sudden, we started playing football for the first time maybe all year.
Is that what that was called?
It got close. Dude, we went, 28 unanswered? Something like that. And then Russell goes down with the dome shot. But we lost again. So bad news. We're officially, mathematically, eliminated from the playoffs.
You
so
will
that
not
late
be in the
playoff
playoffs.
run that I thought we were heading towards, no, sir.
All right, well, let's make a pick. Try to give them a winner as we're going out here. I'm going to stick with the NFL. I think, the Miami Dolphins are starting to struggle a little bit. We saw them struggle against the Chargers this past week. The week before against the 49ers, which a lot of people struggle there. Miami's kind of warm this time of year. I don't know how well they're going to adapt going up to the freezing cold of Buffalo. Okay, Buffalo -7 against Miami. Book it.
Did you see this past week, Buffalo?
Didn't look like my ideal conditions.
Oh, my God. Some of those dudes from Miami. Remind me of when, like, the Miami Hurricanes would go play Boston College late in the year, and every dude had, like, the whole face mask on, like, nope.
I have no interest in being in Buffalo.
I don't know
this
how
time of
you
year.
catch a football when your hands are, especially from Josh Allen, when your hands are frozen like that. I'm going to stay in the NFL, too. I'd rather go the college football route. I feel like that's where I have my most success. But the bowl games from now until next week, not the greatest. I'm going to go with the 49ers, who are playing football right now. Even with Brock Purdy in there, they went in and just stomped. They didn't win in. They stayed at home and stomped the Bucs. But they're giving 3.5 over the Seahawks. So I'm going to ride the hot hand. I think 49ers are like, I want to say they're sneak because they're obviously on the radar, but that's a quiet, I guess, non-favorite Super Bowl pick right there.
Yeah, I think they're one of the top 3 favorites in the NFC for sure. It just depends, how serious Deebo Samuel's injury is. But Brock Purdy looked fantastic. That was impressive to go up against Tom Brady. I know he's not playing against him, but he's on the other sideline. The GOAT, the guy he probably looked up to his whole life and says, that's who I want to be. Mr. Irrelevant, the last pick in the draft, and goes out and plays probably the best game of his life. His family was in the stands. His dad you could see him tearing up how great his son was playing. That was such a cool moment.
Yeah. Tom Brady, by the way, gave out more than 100 tickets, most tickets he's ever had for his friends and family for a game ever. Got out there and that thing was done quick.
Sorry about it.
Tough
All right.
break.
Well, hopefully we can make you some money. But like I said earlier, this is our last show of the year. We get a little 2-week break to refresh. Come back
recharge the
strong
body maybe
in
a little
2020.
bit.
Yeah, we got to recharge the body. We've been getting amongst it, but just want to thank you all so much for all your support, all the loyal listeners out there. This is so much fun for us. This isn't work. We love coming in here, getting on the mic, and having fun speaking to y'all, but can't thank y'all enough for all the support. I mean, every time I'm walking down the fairways out at a PGA Tour event, you are yelling, get amongst it. Subpar, where's Sleaze? I said, we don't let him out of his cage very often.
Good question.
We do not let him out of his cage very often. He's back in Scottsdale behaving, but really, really appreciate all y'all.
Yep. Thank you guys so much for all the listeners out there. Have a great holiday season. We got some good stuff lined up for the new year, possibly some big news coming when we come back on the mic early in January. But thank you guys so much for listening. We love it. We're going to keep these things coming and have a great holiday season.
Yep, that's going to do it for us. We'll talk to you in 2023 on Golf Subpar.